that's what that contract is. So yes, eventually it will be that which
We're ready, Jay?
We are ready. All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the September 9th meeting of the Zoning Board of Adjustment. My name is Jay Mankara, ZBA Chair. To my right is Josh Neely, Vice Chair. And then across the aisle there is Steve Lionel, member, JP Boucher, member, and alternate Joseph Patry. We have 4 members with us this evening, so Mr. Patry, if he's willing, will be participating and voting on all of the cases this evening. So otherwise, we do have 5 members unless somebody feels the need to recuse himself this evening. And I will also note that to my left is Sam Durfee, Planning Manager. So the Zoning Board of Adjustment, it will be hearing 2 different types of cases this evening. We have an application for a special exception, and we have 2 requests for variances. A special exception is a use that is allowed under the zoning ordinance when certain criteria is met. And obviously, the board will have to find in favor of that in order to grant the special exception. A variance is a request to deviate from the terms of the zoning ordinance, and that can be granted by the board only if we find that 5 criteria are met. That granting the variance will not be contrary to the public interest, that it will be within the spirit of the ordinance, that granting the variance would do substantial justice, that there'd be no diminution to surrounding property values, and that owing to some special condition of the property, failure to grant the variance would result in an unnecessary hardship on the property owner seeking it. So just in terms of order of business, I'll read each case into the record, and the applicant will be invited to come up to the podium. We will ask everyone to state your name and your address for the record, and then applicants will have up to 15 minutes to present their case. Afterwards, we will ask if there is anybody in the audience who wishes to speak in favor of the application. Each individual will then come up to the mic, state your name, state your address, and you'll have up to 5 minutes to address the board. You don't have to use your 5 minutes, but you certainly can. And then once we're done with people who wish to speak in favor, we'll ask if there's anyone who wishes to speak with questions, concerns, or opposition to the application. And similarly, each individual will then have 5 minutes to address the board. And we do ask, of course, that all comments are made to the board, not to other members of the audience or across to the applicant. Following that, the applicant will then have the opportunity to come back up to the podium and provide a rebuttal to any of the comments that were made. And again, that will be 5 minutes. And then following that, we will give the opportunity to anybody who spoke in opposition to the application to come forward and kind of have the last word. It would be one individual, so if there are a few people out there, you kind of would have to huddle amongst yourselves and decide who that would be. But that's an opportunity that you have. Again, you don't have to take it. Then following the close of the public hearing, then we'll open up the deliberations of the board, and the board will discuss the application and then choose to either vote and act that night, or if for some reason the board feels that additional information is needed, it's possible that the case could be continued to a future hearing. That's kind of the order of the business. Unless anybody had a procedural question, I'm going to read the first case into the record. Now, I will note that for the first case, which is the City of Nashua, the owner, Division of Public Works, who is the applicant, and that's for property at 848 West Hollis Street. And this is requesting a special exception, but the first order of business in this case is that we have to make a determination under what we call the Dover v. Fisher standard. And because we've had a similar application in the past regarding a sign on this property, the board has to first determine whether or not there's been a significant change in circumstance that would warrant the board hearing the case. So we're going to have that discussion in just a moment. That's not part of the public process, so that will just be a discussion of the board. Following that, if the board decides to move forward, I'll read the case into the record. If that makes sense. Does anybody have any questions? Anything I omitted before we jump in? Roll call. Roll call. Thank you.
Well, I thought he, oh, yes.
Go ahead.
Yes. No, go ahead.
Thank you for that. I missed the roll call. Mr. Neely.
Present.
Mr. Lionel.
Present.
Mr. Boucher.
Present.
Mr. Patry.
Present.
I, Jay Mankara, present. So we are all here. So with that, I am going to start off with the application for the Dover v. Fisher determination. So again, applicant is City of Nashua, the owner is the City of Nashua, Division of Public Works is the applicant, and the first order of business will be a determination as to whether a material change of circumstances affecting the merits of the application has occurred, or that the application is for a use that materially differs in nature and degree from the special exceptions for a ground sign that was denied by the ZBA on November 14th, 2023. Thoughts from the board? Mr. Lionel.
I do think that this new application is materially different from the old one.
Other thoughts? Mr. Neely.
I also concur with that. I believe that the memorandum written by Attorney Perlman laid it out very well, that the crux of the matter last time was the size of the sign and the EMC. There's no EMC in the sign. It's moving a couple feet here or there, but in this case, I really think that there is a material difference due to the EMC going away, which was the crux of our conversation.
Any other thoughts? I would agree. The fact that there is no electronic messaging component is really a material difference, and my recollection is that was really very central to the board's discussion at that time. Anybody want to make a motion to that effect? Mr. Neely.
So I would like to make a motion on behalf of the City of Nashua owner, Division of Public Works applicant, 848 West Hollis Street, Sheet D, Lot 54, requesting the following: a determination whether a material change of circumstances affecting the merits of the application has occurred, or that the application is for a use that materially differs in nature and degree from the special exception for a ground sign that was denied by the ZBA on 11/14/2023. I make the motion that the Fisher v. Dover criteria has been met. The board has discussed it and feel that there is material differences, and we should hear this case as a new case.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Lionel. Any discussion? All those in favor? So the board has determined that there is a material change in circumstances, so the case will proceed. So I'll read again the case into the record that we will be hearing. City of Nashua owner, Division of Public Works applicant at 848 West Hollis Street, requesting the following special exceptions from Land Use Code Section 190-101, Table 101-7. 1, to exceed the maximum size of a ground sign, 10 square feet permitted, 33.8 square feet proposed. And 2, to exceed the maximum height of the ground sign, 6 feet permitted, 9 feet proposed. That's in the R30 zone in Ward 5. And it looks as though Attorney Perlman will be representing the applicant.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, good evening. My name is Andy Perlman, attorney with Pruning and Perlman here in Nashua, here on behalf of the City of Nashua and the Division of Public Works. With me tonight is Director Foto, who will have some short comments toward the end of our presentation. And I think you can tell, please bear with me as I'm trying to shake a cold from hanging out with too many relatives. First half of my presentation was going to speak to Fisher versus Dover, so thank you. Mr. Chairman, with respect to the sign, I do have at least 2 handouts, possibly a third, if it comes up. And these should be in your packet, but I have fancy color printouts of what we're talking about tonight. And if I may pass those out to the board, I'd appreciate the opportunity. Mr. Chairman, the city, the Division of Public Works is seeking to install a sign at 848 West Hollis Street. We are in the R30 district, and while we are in a residential district, I would submit to you, that this stretch of West Hall Street, say from the police department out to Jadon's, is really a mix of all kinds of uses that we see. Anything from the police department to retail to churches, and then there's a storage facility, Easy Storage, further out on Amherst Street. And so there are certainly a lot of residential homes in the area, but we really do have a mix of uses along West Hall Street. The biggest mix of those uses is landfill, and then the office building for the DPW administrative offices, and all the associated uses that go along with that, with the DPW. There's the plowing centers, there's salt and sand storage toward the back of the property. So I would submit to you that just right out of the gate, that unlike some purely residential neighborhoods in Nashua, we do have a mix of uses in this area. The sign itself is pretty straightforward. I just passed out color renderings from Sousa Signs, and most of the sign is the same masonry block that you see on the DPW office building. They saved a bunch of the block to make this sign, so it complements there's some symmetry between the sign itself and the building that is there today. You see that we have a number of other signs in the area, and you see the spreadsheet that we gave you with respect to the size of the signs. I will admit to you that I did not do a deep dive into all the permitting for the signs that along West Hall Street that we just provided, but some may comply, some may not comply, some may be permitted, some may not be permitted. But what we're proposing is comparable to what we are proposing tonight. And Mr. Chairman, one of the there were a number of letters and emails that came to the board. The one came in today from Paul Shea that I wanted to call out because his comments about the sign I think were very pertinent, especially with respect to the safety issues and the lighting of the sign. The sign is intended to be downward lit, and it is proposed to be on 24/7, and that primarily summertime. Those are we're flexible on the summertime hours, but in the winter during snow events, we really need the light on because this site is used. It's one of the handful of base operations for snow plowing in Nashua, and so we want and they use this particular driveway into the DPW administrative office building in addition to the entrance to the landfill. So the sign is the sign being lit is a safety feature so that people can see it, and sometimes drivers aren't familiar with Nashua who come in on a contract basis, and they can we want them to be able to see the entrance, see where they're going to this site. So we are asking that the sign be lit 24/7 for the safety reasons, as Mr. Shea spoke in his email. The criteria, Mr. Chairman, there are two pieces of the criteria puzzle. There is the application itself. It has like 1 through 5, purpose of request, looks like that. And oddly enough, this form doesn't match the special exception criteria in the ordinance. So I just wanted to speak to both portions of the criteria for special exception. These are similar, but they don't nail it. And so you can see that we are seeking a 33.8 square foot sign where 10 feet is allowed. And part of the reason is because the building is set back so much that we want to make sure we have a clearly visible sign. It's proposed to be 9 feet tall, where 6 is allowed, between the 6 and 9 feet, and tucked up against, it's out of the setback, so it's set back from the road a little bit. We believe that's a reasonable request for the board to consider. There is physical construction being proposed. The sign, again, will be 9 feet. And the sign measurement is the sign itself plus the seal, and not necessarily all the mason work or the aluminum pieces the decorative pieces to the sign. We have no parking issues with the sign. The sign is not going to impact pedestrian and safety, vehicular traffic. And we believe the sign is in character with the neighborhood, given the mixed use of the neighborhood and the other signs in the area. And so those are the kind of the points on the application itself. But when we turn to 190, 134, the special exception criteria, it has 5 special exception criteria under subsection F. And just to quickly touch on those, the use requested is listed in the special exceptions. It's listed, it was a recent amendment to the ordinance, Land Use Code Section 190-110.1 allows all, excuse me, all signs proposed by the city for governmental use are permitted by special exception. So we meet the criteria of subsection A under the special exception requirements. The use will not create undue traffic congestion. Actually, it does just the opposite. It provides visibility so we can, traffic can see. Really no pedestrian issues in this part of West Hall Street. We're not going to, subsection C, we're not overloading any public water drainage or sewer systems or other municipal systems. Subsection D, any special regulations for this particular request, there are none with this ordinance. And finally, E, we will not impair the integrity or be out of character with the neighborhood. And again, we believe that we are proposing a respectable, a good-looking sign without the EMC, which I think that was the big issue last time. And really, the sign itself is a thoughtful sign, well-designed, and I see it as just a part of the civic pride. That's a beautiful building that the city just built for the DPW administrative offices, and I think it should have a corresponding sign to match the building itself. And again, the building being set so far back, that's why you need the sign to call it out. Mr. Chairman, that's all I have for my initial presentation. Again, I do call out Paul Shea's email for the board. Those are my criteria. Mr. Chairman, I do have a request that there are a number of aldermen here. They have a meeting coming up pretty quickly, so if I could have aldermen speak to this right off the bat, unless the board had any questions for me right now.
Any questions from the board? Mr. Neely?
Attorney Perlman, I hope you feel better, by the way.
Thank you.
You look pretty miserable. The sign, when I look at the sign, we're talking about about a 4-foot section that's at 9 feet high. It's basically a sideways L. Is that higher part going to be closer to the building or closer to the street?
Street.
Okay,
848 is going to stand out.
thank you.
Mr. Lionel?
Attorney Perlman, I'm a little bit puzzled as to why this sign is so much more massive than the sign for the landfill, where the landfill is something that the general public needs to find, and the Public Works Department there would be very limited audience for the sign. So it seems out of proportion to me. Can you explain why it is so large?
Well, a couple things. First off, the DPW building is used a lot. There's traffic going in and out of there all the time, and it's not just staff. The Board of Public Works holds their meetings there, Tuesday afternoons, I think, and maybe Monday afternoons. So a lot of public is going to this sign. The land use, the landfill has been there forever. People know where it is in Nashua. They know the turn. It's by the, I call it the old Triumph motorcycle shop. Just past that, there's the landfill. Everybody knows it. No, not as many people know the 848 West Hall Street, the DPW building. The DPW building is set back. It has some tree cover in the front. So the team that designed this took all of those factors into place and said, this is a reasonable size sign for the building that's set back from West Hall Street. That it's getting known, but it's still not as known certainly as much as the landfill entrance.
Okay.
Any other questions from the board? Mr. Patrick?
This might be a question for Director Photo, but Do we have any, you mentioned that some of the plows are having issues finding the location in the winter. Do we have any idea how big of a problem that is? Like how many drivers have had that issue?
I don't off the top of my head, but we can speak to that.
Other questions from the board? Anything else you'd like to add?
Not at this time. I may come back, but I would like to have Alderman speak to this before, so I get down to the meeting.
Thank you. So we will open it up to Alderman first, respecting your time and the other demands that you have this evening.
Richard Dowd, I'm the Alderman from Ward 2 and live at 8 Ascot Park in Nashua. So I've been, as Vice Chair of Infrastructure, involved in the design of the current office building. And at the current time in my committee, we're debating the design of the new maintenance storage facility that will be in the same area. For many years, DPW has been spread all over the city and in inadequate facilities, even though they did a great job doing all their different tasks. Now they have a new building where all of the office people are located from all the different groups, and it's been functioning very well. And at some point in the future, they will have the maintenance garage attached, and it'll become one of the largest city sites in the city. It is detached from the landfill. There's no connectivity between the two. So this sign, I believe, is going to enhance the neighborhood. It's going to be landscaped and taken care of by the Park Rec Department, and they do a great job with all the plantings in front of the current building. And it will be a really nice sign. And I think we deserve to give DPW the recognition that they deserve for all the things they do for the citizens that sort of go unnoticed. Trash collection, plowing, sewerage, wastewater. So we want it to have a nice sign. All the materials are already purchased. They're just waiting for construction. The sign has been in place on the design since the first day of planning board. And I'm just asking that you take into consideration that we do this for the people of DPW because they deserve to have a nice sign indicating their location. And it will enhance finding the different driveways because the landfill has a separate entrance and you can't use that to get to their building. So thank you and appreciate again letting us speak because we have to go down to another meeting. So
Thank you, Alderman Dowd.
Thank you. Patricia Klee, Ward 3, Alderman 9 Maywood Drive. Thank you for hearing me. I know how hard it is to sit up there. I sit on the planning board, so I get it and I understand. First, I want to address the fact that the city has made a lot of compromises when it comes to this building. They pushed the building back to help the neighbors, and I'm glad they did that because sitting on the planning board, I understand what the residents have to deal with. They have, their lives get turned upside down every time a new building comes through, a new developer comes through. They've been living there and suddenly all of a sudden things get turned around. So pushing the building back kind of helped them. So I'm glad to see that the city did that. But in doing so, that means it makes it more difficult as people are trying to find it. So we have to also make a compromise. We need to put a sign up that is visible. Well, they wanted the sign with the EMC. That was turned down, and whether or not I agree with it, that's immaterial. It was turned down. But the bottom line is now they need a sign that's larger. It was commented about, well, the landfill sign is so much smaller. I agree with that. And I even kind of whispered to Director Photo, I wish that sign were a little bit bigger, but that's another fight to be fought and not at this meeting here. It's well known what that location is. I think the sign is in good taste. You have it in front of you and so on. I'm going to tell you my story. I cannot tell you how many times I have driven past that building, having to go to a meeting. having to go to, I too am on infrastructure. So we have an infrastructure and joint meeting with the Board of Public Works. I've driven by it because you're trying to keep up with the traffic, but you're riding your brakes saying, okay, isn't here. And I panic sometimes and I turn the first left after the landfill. Guess what? That's just a driveway to nowhere. That is not the landfill. Now I have to pull out of that driveway and you can't take a left. So I've got to take a right and find a place that I can turn around safely and then go there, because I can never see the makeshift sign that we have there. So we need a sign that will be large enough to be seen. So this is why I'm saying this. It's still a new building, whether there's 1 or 20 or 100, trucks that have missed that sign, it's not safe. The building is pushed back. We need a sign that is close enough up, and I think it's in good taste. I, too, am always there for the residents. I want the residents to be able to do it. I think Public Works, whether it's Park and Recs, whether it's the Public Works people, will do a really good job in making sure that that is done. I think this is really good for the neighborhood. The 24/7 lighting, I also think is a safety issue, because you don't want to, as I said, drive by. The speed limit is the speed limit there, but we know what it feels like when you've got someone riding your tushy. It's intimidating, and you're trying to ride your brakes to get there, but if you can see at dusk where that light is, you know where to turn. So that is why it's important to have this kind of lighting. So I would hate to see you turn it down because of that lighting and so on. So it's all a safety issue. The sign, the size of the sign is a safety issue. The lighting on the sign is a safety issue. The location of the sign is a safety issue. So compromises have been made. And the thing is, I really don't want to see the city being punished because they're the applicant. If this weren't the city coming, would we think differently? When I drive down that way, I see all these signs that aren't much different from what the city is asking. There are all kinds of different signs, from the church to the cemetery to the florist, to all kinds of different signage along the way. The school, everything. It is a residential area, yes, but it is also an industrial area or a business area rather than that. It's a very mixed use area. So I really do hope you'll look favorably on it. I think a lot of compromise, and that's the big word that I'm going to use here. A lot of compromise has been made, and that's why we're here today. It's because one more compromise has been made. So please look favorably upon it, and thank you so much for taking your time and listening to me. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Good evening, Alderman Michael O'Brien, 4 Woodfield Street, Nashua. I am currently Alderman at Large, Vice President of the Board of Aldermen, and I'm very happy to say that I was chairman and still chairman of the Infrastructure Committee, and we built this beautiful edifice. We just didn't build it for the neighborhood. I built it for the city. This is something that we can be very proud of. But you can't see it. Why can't you see it? Well, we had empathy for the people of the neighborhood, taken well into account. Yes, we increased the buffer zone. We even moved the building farther back. But because we did these particular items, created another problem. You can't see it from the road. So when you can't see it from the road, a common sense man like myself would say, maybe we need a sign. And so this is a hand in hand will solve the problem. Let's face it, East Hollis Street, unfortunately, is a major thoroughfare. It's kind of straight, particularly in the area of the landfill. People travel, probably exceeding a little bit of this, the speed limit. And then also, people who are going in and using the refuge facility of the landfill, if they go in and they have business actually in the administration side of the DPW, and they go into the wrong entrance. Just think of your grandmother who wanted to get a permit for the park to have a family gathering, ends up in the line going into the refuge portion, wedged between two trucks, waiting to get skilled and to go to the landfill. This building that we built has a single purpose, and that is for the community to come in for meetings and other different essentials. But I don't think I want the citizens unnecessarily. Yes, people do come in and drop off trash and other things and recycle. They'll be in the right line going into the old entrance into the landfill. But we can separate that. And then also, too, part of the reason you cannot get from the refuse side of the dump, excuse me, the landfill. You could tell I'm from Boston, but to get into the administration side, there's a gate that is there, and it's pretty much closed. The reason the gate is there, it meets the requirements, and when we built this, for the fire codes. So, if somebody makes it all the way to the weight scale and says, I'm here to get a permit for my baseball team or whatever, now they got to turn around with all the trucks and the commotions. We all been to the landfill. We know what a Saturday is like there. Now they have to go around into the other lane. And again, to get back to the speed issue or the traffic issue, because it's a major thoroughfare. I mean, we hope people in Milford, Hollis, and Brookline and everything, we want them to come to Nashua, and we want them to come with their wallets. Okay? But the road is at, pretty much at its maximum. So why don't you increase the safety and looking for those, people that want to go to the administration side and put up the sign. It makes the common sense argument here, and you might be saving a life. Now let's look at the other thing. State law has changed, and it recognizes the BPW as first responders. I did 35 years as a firefighter for the city of Nashua. The BPW workers are equal on par with me in my career as a firefighter. Part of the BPW is got to be a control center for when bad storms hit, and it needs to be clearly identified. And if you haven't yet, because you may not have seen it because you're traveling on East Hall Street, I welcome you to come in and look at the facility. We did a darn good job, and I'm proud to say, even with some of the things of increasing the buffer zone and moving the building, we came in under budget. And even with this potential of the sign, we took into considerations of the people of the neighborhood, again, like I say, with empathy. And the lights will be reflecting down. The American flag light reflects down. So everything has been taken and engineered by the architecture, all of the things. But there have been people that complained, and some of it I kind of think has been a little bit dilatory to the project. But I guarantee you, if you approve this sign, for even the people who object to it, this sun will come up tomorrow. This has got to be something. You got to think and look at this project. I didn't build this building to have it here for the year 2025. I built it here to have at least a 60 to 70 year lifespan, a long time. And this sign that we're talking about today, hopefully, will last that long too, and be an integral part of the Board of Public Works. There's, as a city, elected official, I'm proud of the work that we've done and the efficiency of moving all those different aspects of the BPW to under one roof, increase the efficiency. Gentlemen, I'm asking you to put the cherry on top of the ice cream sundae that we have built, a building that I am proud of, that's got to stand the test of time, and it's got to be an edifice that makes our citizens proud. So thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. And I don't think we have any more aldermen, so is there anybody else who'd like to speak in favor of the application?
Hi, my name is June Lemon. I'm a Commissioner of Public Works, and I live at 18 Manchester Street here in the city. I have to echo what everybody has said. I get email from constituents, some of whom are concerned, but what they basically said to me was, I don't want an eyesore of a sign. And so you gentlemen have the pictures in front of you. This is not an eyesore by anyone's definition. And I'll be brief. I also have, and I have to go to this building at least once a month. I have passed by the sign and the left turn and have turned around in the Presbyterian Church's parking lot. It is a hard area of that road to see, to make out that left turn. And it was nearly impossible before we put in the left turn lane to even turn there safely. So I'm not going to totally reiterate what everybody else has said. I know you're capable of making a decision. You're all thoughtful people. But I think this sign is valuable to the project, and I just ask you to make the right decision. It's, it could be, I know the city has ordinances of signs for some reason, and I'm sure there's some scientific thing that says it has to be this big by this big to be seen. But on that particular stretch of road, when you're driving there are so many different size signs, and to me, if you're going to be, it would be one thing if all the signs were the same size and the same style and the same design, and we were doing something wildly out of character for the neighborhood. I don't think that's the case. And I think the BPW is trying as hard as it possibly can to accommodate the neighbors and to make an attractive sign and to increase safety for all the people who travel on that road. And there are a lot of people who go to that building. There's not just the regular BPW employees and staff. There are people like me who have meetings there. There are vendors. There are people making proposals to the city. So I just ask you to look upon this and make your decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who'd like to speak in favor of the application?
I'm Jeff LaFleur, Superintendent of the Solid Waste Department. I'm stationed at the 848 West Hollis Street building. I do a lot of operations there. We have a lot of tractor trailers that come into the landfill, and sometimes they miss the turn and they decide to turn into the administration building. And the parking lot is so small there that it takes about a 20-point turn for a tractor trailer to get out of there. If there was a proper sign there, they would know not to turn into there because it's not the landfill. I know Mr. Patry was asking a question about that. We do have a lot of tractor trailers that come in. I see at least 1 or 2 a week. And it's a nightmare for them to turn if they don't know that that's not an entrance to the landfill. It's a total nightmare for them. I don't want to belabor any of the other things that were said, but that was my main focus was, operationally we're seeing tractor trailers and other deliveries coming in to the wrong entrance instead of going into the landfill where they're supposed to go. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who'd like to speak in favor?
Thank you. Lisa Photo, Director of Public Works. I'd like to speak to a couple of things that were mentioned. One is the landfill sign. You're correct. The landfill sign is very small. And it was probably installed 20-plus years ago. I've been with the city for 16 years, and it was there for a long time before I started. And the landfill has been in place since the early 70s, so people are very familiar with where the landfill is, so the necessity of a larger sign probably is not as important. As far as the people that are coming to our building, it's a lot more than just employees and commissioners and elected officials. We serve a lot of residents through that building. We have people who come in to purchase toters, recycling toters, landfill permits, Coaches pick up basketballs and other recreational supplies. We have residents sign up for recreation programs, including camps and trips, the senior outing, where we have a lot of seniors that come and purchase tickets. They don't purchase them, they're free. And also our engineering department issues driveway, encumbrance, and street opening permits. So we have a lot of residents that are coming to our building for a variety of reasons. As mentioned, our building does host monthly night meetings for several city boards, so that's also important. And many of our residents can't see the small highway sign that we've installed. And many of them tell us they drive right by and they don't see it, and then they have to turn around, which is not an easy task, as you know, on West Hollis Street. People are traveling about 40 miles per hour on West Hollis Street. So there needs to be a sign that's large enough so that they can see it far enough in advance so that they can slow down and then pull into our driveway. That's just a fact that they're traveling at those speeds. And you know, the sign that we're proposing, we think is an attractive gateway to the city. It's a gateway from Hollis, and you know, we think that we're proposing an attractive city with block, beautiful landscaping, and it creates a source of civic pride for our employees and our residents, honestly. And we mentioned that the sign will have downlighting. It will be very minimal lighting. There will not be light pollution from this. We took this into consideration. We took that very seriously to make sure that we were going to be a good neighbor. But it does need to be lit, and it needs to be lit because we will be running snow operations out of that facility. We do have employees who work there after it gets dark, and then we also have night meetings. So for those reasons, it's important that you know, both elected officials and city staff and residents can find our building. So I guess in closing, we believe that we've developed a sign that's tasteful and in keeping with the mixed use in this neighborhood. We do understand that it is a residential neighborhood, but I can't think of anything more industrial than a landfill, honestly. And that's where our building is. It's built in the landfill. So, and we need this for safety reasons, again, so folks don't go by the building and then have the dangerous task of trying to turn around, which is not easy. So, anyway, that's it. I'll answer questions if it's appropriate.
Mr. Neely?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I've got a couple questions, if that's okay. I have a picture of the sign here in front of me.
Yes.
And it just as a reminder, it says National Public Works, as some type of brown millwork over the top. We keep talking about downward facing lights. Is that where the lights are, under that top?
Yes.
Okay.
There, and I actually have sort of a rendering of what it would. Oh, you gave them one? Okay. I believe I have one as well. Yeah. So as you can see, it's very minimal.
So, thank you for that. So the night rendering, basically what's going to be seen is the 848 and the Nashua, from what I see here. Is that?
Yes.
That's correct?
Yes, that's pretty much the case, correct.
Yeah, no, so I get that. So if that's the case, I know that area very well. Used to live right in that neighborhood. In that case, my assumption then, and maybe you can say yes or no to this, is it sounds like this lighting is probably going to be lower than what we see at the church right there, because that's a pretty bright light. I think that's probably the brightest light of that whole area.
Significantly.
Significantly less than that. Okay,
Yes,
great.
you're correct.
That's great to hear, and I know that's what a lot of the neighbors and the folks who are writing us emails were really concerned about the lights, especially after that crazy flashing orange sign that was there for a long time. That was definitely not a happy thing for many people. Next question. We received a email from Paul Shea this morning. One sentence kind of jumped out, or two sentences jumped out at me. From the start, we have taken care to consider both functionality and the neighborhood character. As we incorporated community feedback, the proposed sign went through several iterations in order to arrive at a design that is appropriately scaled, visually appealing, and respectful of its surroundings. Could you just kind of talk us through a little bit of how the community was involved in this? You know, this was a year and a half ago when the EMC went down. I know this has been delayed now a couple times coming here. Can you kind of walk us through the process of how we got here?
So this sign has always been part of our planning board application. So there have been several public meetings where this sign has been presented. It's been presented at several Board of Public Works meetings, and I'm sure others. So the public has had many opportunities to opine on the sign.
And my last question, so it sounds like from your testimony and the alderman, it certainly seems like the real crux to the reason to have a sign of this size is the safety of West Hollis Street and the safety of folks trying to pull in and out of this driveway and find this driveway. I mean, that was my takeaway. Would you say that's the major crux of why it's bigger than the
Yes,
landfill
but
sign?
also, but also having something that I think our community can be proud of. You know, really a beautiful gateway sign, I think was also another consideration.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Anybody else who wishes to speak in favor of the application? Seeing none, is there anybody who wishes to speak with questions, concerns, or opposition? Questions, concerns, or opposition, any of the above.
I'm rushing down to a Board of Alderman meeting.
I got that sense.
Good evening, my name is Paula Johnson. I live at 15 Westbourne Drive. I live right off of West Hollis Street, down by on Wellesley Street, down by 505, basically. You know, the sign, if it was smaller, might be better. You know, I never have a problem finding the building. I know it's right after the landfill. Yeah, there is a little sign right now that nobody can see. But I'm listening to this. It's the size of it in itself. I truly believe it's out of the character of the neighborhood. It's the landfill sign. If you take what you have at the landfill and you make it a little bit bigger, I don't think that would be bad. You talk about the church lights, that shines on the cemetery. I mean, if you ever been down to West Hollis Street and you live on West Hollis Street, I think Alderman O'Brien said East Hollis Street, but it's West Hollis Street. And yes, we have a lot of mixed businesses on West Hollis Street, which never was before. It was basically Patari's, you know, the little convenience store. Then the church got built. We do have the school there, the Micro Society School, that has a sign now. But they're different types of signs. They're not massive signs in front of a building. And the reason the building is set back, because when the land was built, it was not supposed to be seen from the street. It was supposed to be a setback building. And so I think where we are right now, we're taking West Hollis Street, which is a residential area, which is becoming more commercial, and once they move the barn over to that, West Hollis Street is going to be totally commercial because you're going to have continuous traffic of the trucks. And so if people don't know where that building is, it's not for the everyday citizen like me. I'm not going there. And I've gone to a few meetings there, and I don't remember ever being part of the neighborhood, although I live further down, and hearing that there were meetings that you could go and speak up of. So I think there's a couple of issues that have to be addressed here. What is the massive size of this sign? Can the sign be scaled back to a smaller size and still meet the reasons and the purpose of that sign rather than that big? So, and I guess that the city figures that you're gonna pass this tonight because they've already cleared the land on that for a while. And so, to me, that says in my brain, it's an autumn, I'm not gonna say you guys, but they just figured it was going to pass tonight. So I would ask the zoning board to please take another look at the size of this sign, see if it can be scaled back, because I think you'll be able to see it, a smaller sign. If you could see the landfill sign, and that's that small sign tucked in there. But how many of the everyday people use that administration building? Not. Yeah, you have contractors that come in, but after a while, they're gonna know where the building is. They have to know where the building is. Got a GPS, your GPS tells you where the building is. I mean, come on, people. You have your GPS right on your phone, or you have it right, everybody has, most, and the new cars have a computer there, computer screen. It shows you like in living color where you're gonna go. So I'm asking you, please, for the character of the neighborhood and the character of West Hollis Street, because I think we're getting out of control with these big signs on West Hollis Street. Just because you say the school has it or the church has it, doesn't mean that every business or every city building has to have one of those big signs, because now we've lost what West Hollis Street was all about. I've been living in my house for almost 42 years, and I've seen the changes in West Hollis Street. Is it for the best? Absolutely not. We can't even do a West Hollis Street corridor to control the traffic there. and it's only going to get worse. So I'm asking you to please consider the size of the sign. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who'd like to speak?
Good evening, Justin Gerstenfield, 79 Gilson Road. I just kind of want to reiterate a couple of points that have already been made. We are looking at West Hollis Street. I do come down that road almost every single day, as does my husband. We enter off of Countryside Drive, come right down. I promise you, I saw that building from the second that land got cleared. I feel like the residents have made quite a few compromises with the city already in not allowing the city to have a one entrance at the landfill, to the clear cutting of making the building already more visible by making the tree line farther back instead of tighter against the road so it can be seen better. I think a scaled back sign is well within reason. I don't want to have to litigate all of the other signs that are already on the road that may be grandfathered in from older businesses that have been there in the 8 years that I've been living on that road. But I can guarantee you, every time I drive home at night, that sign that is there currently reflects right into my face. So I don't know how anybody driving down the street at night would miss the currently green sign that is there, especially when they're looking for the building, because I am not, and that sign reflects directly into my eyes. And we hear, or even tonight, I have heard about the safety of people going in and out of that building and the number of peoples that are going in and out of that building. As a resident of the ward who drives by that building almost every single day, I have not once seen a person turning in or out of that building during rush hour, during the evenings when I'm coming home from work, in the middle of the day when I'm going to get my hair cut, during my lunch break, during any other time. I have not once in the 2 years I've been watching that building seen a single car come in or out of that. I'm not there 24/7, so I may not have done that. The only time I have seen someone come in and out of that drive for that building is when I went there for the City Academy. Again, I'm not a perfect witness, so I can't see that. And I think we do deserve a great sign for the building. The building is beautiful. It is gorgeous, and I think our employees have a great space. And I think we do need something better than what we currently have. But does it need to be huge that maybe then impacts people driving past the dump and now entering at the Department of Public Works to drop off their trash on the weekends that are new to our surrounding cities or new to Nashua, thinking it's now the entrance to the dump because the sign is so big and so beautiful? They're like, this is where the dump is? Because I did grow up in a town in Texas where the sign for the dump was the prettiest sign in the city, and that's where everyone went. And do we want to have that here in Nashua? So I think if we're going to do one, maybe we should look at doing the other as well. But I just want to say, like, if we can, to try and help the residents of Ward 5, thinking of the compromises that they've already made in having the building there to begin with trying to keep the neighborhood feel of our ward, we want to have some of those compromises, and I think the residents have made a lot. And I think if we can try and find a way to maybe scale just a little bit more, I think it would be helpful to all and increase the safety for everyone who is going in and out of that building that I may be missing. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who'd like to speak with questions, concerns, or opposition? Seeing none, I'm going to reference several letters that we received. And first of all, I was remiss in not previously mentioning the letter that we did receive from Paul Shea, although of course it was referenced earlier. But we did receive a letter from Paul Shea, who is the Vice Chair Commissioner of the Board of Public Works from 42 Hills Ferry Road in Nashua. To members of the Zoning Board of Adjustment, I write in support of the proposed sign for the Department of Public Works facility at 848 West Hollis Street. Having served on the building committee for the DPW office building during the planning of the project, I've been closely involved in the discussions about the design, size, and placement of this sign. We already did hear portions of this letter reference, so I won't necessarily go through repeat that content, but he does note that the proposed sign is consistent with the character of the neighborhood, and he notes that driving along Route 111, there are many signs that are similar in size, and He also wanted to point out, and I'll just read it as he put it, I would also point to the example of the City of Nashua welcome sign at exit 6 on Broad Street. The base of this sign was built by our own masons on staff, and the plantings that attractively frame it are regularly maintained. With tasteful landscaping and thoughtful design, it conveys community pride and makes the residents and visitors feel good as they pass by. I believe the proposed DPW sign can serve the same role, creating a finished, professional, and welcoming appearance at a facility that is a critical part of the city's operations. It will reflect well not only on the Department of Public Works, but also on the neighborhood and the city as a whole. And then he does go on to note that it's important in terms of public safety that the site is active at all different hours, especially during snowstorms, and also, essentially, well, it does note that it's also an investment in this facility, and urges that the board support it. We also received a number of letters in opposition, so I will note these and read some and try to get the essence of them as we go along. First, we received an email from Nancy Kring Burns at 5 Brayburn Drive. I am opposed to the DPW oversized sign request for West Hollis Street. The requested sign is not in keeping with the residential area and will take away from the ambiance of the neighborhood. Such a large sign is unnecessary to mark the entrance to the DPW building. The sign we have now does the job nicely. Janine T. Levesque from 9 Caleb Street also sent in an email to ZBA members. Again, as a resident of West Hollis Street area, I object to the Department of Public Works erecting a sign that will be more than 3 times the allowed sign maximum. And again, notes that in the essence is that she doesn't feel that it is necessary, that the DPW facility has been erected when the area has already been built up. She is temporarily away from the city, and so she cannot attend the meeting this evening. We next have a letter from Elaine Nussbaum, a resident of Ward 5. After reading the application for the above matter, I'd like to object to the extreme size of the proposed monument sign under consideration by the Board of Public Works. It is not in keeping with the character of the neighborhood or of the immediate residential neighborhood. Another email from Denise Chong for Jonquil Lane. I arrange to request that the zoning board deny the DPW's new exception request for the sign located at 848 West Hollis Street, and again objects to the size and notes that it's out of character with surrounding neighborhood. Next, an email from Charles Fisher of 2 Laredo Circle in Ward 5, addressed to the zoning board. It was only a few months ago that a proposed ordinance, Ordinance 24-037, concerning this matter was rejected by the Board of Aldermen. That ordinance was an attempt by our planning board to remove from the ZBA the decision-making process as designated by statute 190-134, simply because an earlier exception request on signage was not approved. The position of the DPW/planning board is that this enhanced signage exception is needed to improve communication with the public, and that this need outweighs any quality of life issues raised by the people living in the affected residential zones. This position, in my opinion, has no merit. He notes that the city has created an awesome website, which basically provides access to the citizens for the information that they would otherwise need, and that rather than intruding into residential areas beyond the scope determined to be appropriate by the ZBA, the DPW should focus on modern technologies such as the website to improve communications. And again, urges that the board reject the request. Next, we received a email from Gloria McCarthy, 65 Musket Drive in Nashua, addressed to the Zoning Board of Adjustment with the subject of opposition to the ZBA special exception request for an oversized sign. She goes on to note that she is in strong opposition to the special exception that is being created for the Department of Public Works for the installation of the sign. She notes the sign is 3 times, or more than 3 times, the maximum that is permitted, and that it would be one of the tallest signs along with the West Hollis Street corridor. Again, notes that it's in the middle of a residential neighborhood and that she feels that it is not consistent with that character. Goes on to note that in order to grant the special exception, the ZBA must determine that the requested use will not impair the integrity or be out of character with the district or the immediate neighborhood in which it's located. and goes on to note again that because of the size of the sign, that it would not meet that criterion. She notes that there are other signs in the area that are larger, but not of this magnitude. And again, goes on to note that, that the lighting would disrupt the residents with light pollution, impacting the quality of sleep. Feels that it would harm the neighborhood and also set a troubling precedent. And again, notes the fundamental purpose of the zoning regulation is to protect the character and viability of the communities, and that this would be out of step with that, and that granting this request would send the wrong message that public entities can sidestep the regulations that everyone else must follow. And again, goes on to note that if the city's allowed to disregard the zoning laws, in this case, it opens up the door for similar exceptions in the future, and goes on, essentially to urge that it be denied, that the request be denied. Next, we have an email that came from Dave LeBlanc. He lives at 930 West Hollis Street, and he says he does not approve for the sign proposed for the new DPW building. When he first purchased his property in front of the landfill, he felt that they were told many times that the property was purchased to be a buffer for the landfill, that there were many trees on the property that did just that, blocked the view from the landfill. Now the new PD building is being built on the existing property, and goes on to note concerns about the trees that were cleared for the new DPW building, that the buffer is now gone. And again, emphasizes the problems related to the buffer and feels that the sign would be an eyesore. Next, we received an email from Peter Johnson of Marina Drive. I'm writing with concerns over the size, lighting, and the scope of the proposed special exception for the new sign for the Department of Public Works building on West Hollis Street. And again, although not opposed to a sign in general, his opposition is to the overall size of the sign, which he feels would be out of character with the surrounding area. Next, we have an email from Connie Page, 16 West Hill Drive. And this was actually addressed to the staff. She is a Ward 5 resident writing in opposition to the latest sign proposed for the property, noting that when the electronic sign was denied, the hope would be that a sign would be designed that was appropriate. Again, the main issue here cited is the overall size of the sign. Next, we do, the last one was from Attorney Perlman, and that was not in opposition. So that is all the letters in opposition. And now we will, after all of that, provide an opportunity for the applicant to provide a rebuttal if you wish.
Mr. Chair, I
Yes.
believe there was a letter also from Alderman Jetty in opposition. I don't.
Yes, it's in, sorry.
It is
I
in there.
did recall seeing that, and I
Yes.
didn't see that in this packet, but I do recall that we did have one.
It's towards the end of the packet.
I must have missed it. I apologize. Let me
It's after
find
after the pictures.
I do apologize. We do indeed. And that was, oh, no, I don't. I do remember seeing it. I'm not finding it in that packet. Where am I missing it? Thank you. So I am remiss. We did also receive an email from Alderman Jetty. I'm writing in opposition to the DPW application for a special exception to allow the erection of a larger sign than permitted for the new DPW building at 848 West Hollis Street. I'm the alderman for this area, and I'm asking on behalf of many of the residents of this residential neighborhood that you vote against this request. He notes that the DPW should have a sign to identify its building, but that can be accomplished by a sign which conforms to the sign ordinance and will not impair the integrity or be out of character with the neighborhood. Again, notes that there are many signs along West Hollis Street which clearly identify the condominiums and businesses which comply with the ordinance and do not detract from the residential neighborhood nature of the area. One of them being the sign marking the entrance to the landfill. One exception is a sign at St. Joseph Church, but as was explained when the variance for that sign was granted, the sign is a message sign in front of a large church building and on a large lot with direct frontage on the street and across the street from a large cemetery, and would not be precedent for other large signs in the area. The proposed sign's only purpose is to identify the building and is right across the street from people's homes. In the residential district where this is located, the ordinance permits a ground sign, which is a sign established on a freestanding frame, mast, or pole, and not attached to any building with an area of no more than 10 square feet and no more than 6 feet high. The proposed sign is much larger than that. According to the application filed by the director on May 27, 2025, the proposed sign exceeds a maximum area, 33.8 square feet, which is more than 3 times this, the permitted area of the permitted area of 10 square feet. The maximum height, 9 feet, which is 1.5 times the permitted height of 6 feet. Although the application says the sign is 33.8 square feet, the structure that it will be built to hold it will be much larger. According to the application, the sign, when constructed, will consist of concrete, masonry block, and aluminum paneling. It will measure approximately 9 feet in height, 13.5 feet in length, and 3 feet in width. This oversized structure is clearly much larger than what is permitted in a residential zone. The ordinance allows the city to apply for a special exception from the ZBA to allow the installation of an otherwise impermissible sign for a governmental purpose. To grant a special exception, the ZBA must find that the requested use will not impair the integrity or be out of character with the district or immediate neighborhood in which it's located. RSA 674-33-4, the state law that gives the ZBA the authority to grant special exceptions, says that all special exceptions shall be made in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the zoning ordinance and shall be in accordance with the general or specific rules contained in the ordinance. The plan to build this oversized sign structure adjacent to and across the street from the people's homes is totally out of character with this residential neighborhood and is not in harmony with the general purpose of the zoning ordinance, which prohibits such large signs in residential zones. There is no compelling reason that such a large sign structure needs to be built to identify the location of the DPW building. A 10-square-foot sign is 6 feet more than adequate. A 10-square-foot sign is 6 feet high, and 6 feet high is more than adequate to identify to the location of the building. Please vote to deny this request. And I will say I did give the alderman the deference of reading the whole letter because we did have other aldermen who also spoke at some length. And I believe that is it for the letters, unless there's another one I missed. Now with that, the applicant may provide a rebuttal if you wish.
Mr. Chairman, excuse me again for the record, Andy Perlman. I have one in my handout and then a couple comments. Now I have one copy of this handout. Here's signs that we've been talking about. West Holland Street at night. So as I was making the way around, I just have just a few comments. First of all, there was a comment that we clear cut out front in anticipation of building the sign. That's not true. Some of you folks who work with planning and layout issues know the concept of site distance, and trees were cut back because of the site distance on West Hall Street, so people could see to make the turn coming into this facility. You heard Alderman O'Brien speak to the traffic, and I forgot to speak to the speed in this Route 111. And I forgot to mention this in my opening. You know, I travel too fast on this road. Most people do. This is a state highway, Route 111, and we believe this is a reasonable sign so that people can see it from a distance and people can see it, know where to turn. And finally, two other comments. You know, a lot of public use who don't come to this facility every day, you know, don't know where it is, and they need to find it. Some folks who spoke who live along West Hall Street, well, of course they see it because they live along West Hall Street, so they know where it is. But if you're coming from South Nashua and you want to apply for a permit, if you're coming from the north end, if you've not been out to West Holliston in a while, you need to see this. And those that were instrumental in getting this thing built, the alderman, Director Photo, you know, they spoke of safety. And that's, you know, largely the driving force of this. And besides being a cherry on the top of a ice cream sundae, a matter of civic pride, it's really a safety matter because the building's so far back, people are driving fast. We want to be able to see the entrance, so there's no accidents, no harm. And, you know, given the mixed use of this whole area, I think this is reasonably in character with the neighborhood. Given the landfill the businesses, all the different uses along West Hall Street. I think this is a reasonable sign that the city will be proud of when it's built. So I thank you.
Any questions? Mr. Patrick?
Mr. Perone, does it need to be lit 24/7 all year? Like even, for example, like in the summer when obviously there won't be any, snow plows being
Well, there are night meetings there. I mean, if the board were to say, turn the lights out at 10 or 11, something like that, I mean, that's certainly reasonable in summertime. But certainly in the wintertime, because you don't know how the weather's going to go, they'd want to see that going 24/7. But we'd be willing to, a condition with respect to, summer hours.
Any other questions? Mr. Boucher?
Just to clarify, the square footage was, I think you said it was the sign, the public works sign, and the seal?
The square footage is based upon what you actually read.
Right.
And so it's the National Public Works and then the city seal.
And the city seal?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions from the board?
Thank you very much.
Seeing none, thank you, Mr. Perlman. So we now will provide an opportunity for anyone who spoke in opposition to the application to come forward and have the last word. I'm not sure if anybody wants to do that, or if there's more than one of you who wants to do that and you want to figure out who that might be, but we do want to provide that opportunity. And if there is no one, then we're going to close public input and open up the deliberations of the board. Thoughts from the board? Mr. Neely?
So this is a tough case. Attorney Perlman was handed a hot potato on this one. When this first came up with the EMC, this group believed the EMC was the wrong thing. It was flashing lights. I totally understood what the neighbors were saying. It was like potentially sitting in front of a drive-in movie screen every night. When I came into this, my concerns were the size, the lighting. Obviously, getting 9 or 10 letters against it that's a lot for us to get for one of these cases. One of the things that I do want to immediately speak to is when the aldermen and women were given their testimony. One of the folks mentioned that they asked that we not penalize the city because it's the city. And my antenna went up a little bit on that one because we do get the most pushback when it is the city. We don't enjoy having aldermen on both sides of the spectrum telling us what they think for their constituents. It's not a fun process for us. When we have things that have to do with the city, we have a lot of folks that talk at us. I know I had somebody walk up to me the other day in a random spot and say, I don't understand why the city sign can't be the same size as everybody else. Why are they outside of the, trying to get something bigger? So people do get very wound up in this type of stuff. So I just wanted to kind of allay that we are not trying to make any type of statement up here. We have to take the case as it's presented to us and do what we think is right. That being said, I will tell you, I am looking forward to the rest of the board because my decision is not yet made. I do believe that a better sign needs to be there. I know my first thought when I saw the white sign that's there now was, come on, Nashville, we're better than this. It's just not an attractive-looking sign. This is an attractive-looking sign. I think the crux of the matter at this point is just the size of the sign. My concerns about the lighting have been put to rest. I do think there's other signs that are much more bright along that thoroughfare there. And for anybody who's paid attention to my votes, I do a lot of votes based on safety. So their safety presentation certainly spoke to me. That is a busy road. I am one of those people who goes to the dump on Saturdays, so I deal with those long lines of folks trying to get in and out of there. I have driven by there, 4 or 5, 6 o'clock at night as it gets darker, and you see some folks coming out of there, and that is a very fast thoroughfare. So I am looking forward to what the rest of the board has to say. I am still undecided at this moment.
Other thoughts from the board? Mr. Leno?
Yeah, I don't have any quibbles with the idea of the safety aspect. Although I'm still skeptical about the audience for this sign, I don't really have a problem with a visible and even illuminated sign identifying the entrance to this. What I do have a problem with is how massive this sign appears, especially even compared to the other signs that are even physically, dimensionally bigger. This sign looks like a large wall in its construction, and I don't think that there was a need for that. If this pillar that has the seal wasn't there, I think that the sign could be illuminated, visible, and still be usable. It might be a little bit bigger than the ordinance call for, except that we're told that we have to ignore the dimensional regulations from the ordinances. So, that's as A and B. Yes, there really needs to be the street address sign on there. That could be done smaller. There were people who spoke in favor of this, whose opinions I value. That there are so many of the local residents and the local ward alderman speaking against it makes me, worry a bit. I do know that there's the landfill and there's a lot of other semi-commercial and semi-commercial activity right in that stretch of road. I don't mind seeing a sign there, but this one is just too big for me to swallow. So I haven't, I'm also on the fence about this.
I'll jump in and just start with that. I am in favor of the proposal. I've gone by this area several times since this was initially proposed, and I absolutely appreciate the concerns of the neighbors. And like Mr. Neely said, don't take lightly that we've had so many letters that have come in opposition and people speaking here in opposition. For me, when I look at the criteria for the special exception, I have no doubt that 4 of them are pretty clearly met. And so what it comes down to me is whether or not it is out of character with the surrounding neighborhood. And so that's really what I have focused on as I've gone, up and down West Hollis. And from what I see, there are multiple large signs along this stretch of West Hollis. They are of different, sizes, shapes, materials, and yes, they're for different purposes, but kind of being blind to what the purpose is, whether it's to identify a subdivision, or it's for a church, or it's for a business. I'm looking at the size and the shape of the signs, and when I see this sign, I don't see this as being out of character with the signs that are already located all along that strip. There is no character to the signage that I see there. And just given the very large number of them, I don't see this as being out of place or changing the character of that area. It is larger than most of them, but we see, at least from this list, that there are at least 2 that are larger and at least 3 others that are comparable in size. So I can't say it's out of character. I can't say it's not fitting. And I do believe that there is a public safety aspect to this. It is important that the site be identified. It is also important that there is a sign that is attractive. I note Mr. Shea's analogy to the welcome sign on Broad Street near Exit 6, something similar to that size. And does a welcome to Nashua sign need to be on such a large base? No. Why is it designed that way? It's designed to be attractive and welcoming. And is that not something that we want for our employees and for the public that comes to this facility? So for me, those reasons lead me to believe, to support the application. Could it be smaller? Perhaps. But I'm not in a position to design the sign. I'm not an expert in determining what the size of the letters need to be. for it to be clearly visible. I know that people who do that, but I'm not one of them. So could it be smaller? Perhaps, but I'm not prepared to suggest that it should be. I can only respond to the application that's in front of us, and I support it for those reasons. Other thoughts, Mr. Boucher?
I'm also agree with your comments. I will be in support of the application for all the reasons that you spoke to. Also looking at some of the more details of the sign. Again, the square footage is based on orientation. It's not facing the road. It's perpendicular to the road. And there's reasons for that, and I think that safety is one of those things so that people can identify the signs from further away. And I do, again, believe that it is within the character of the neighborhood, as you described, that there's so many different things. I also understand that this is, this project was started years ago for a need. I also understand that there will be more development or something on that site, and I think it'll be more important as time goes on that people can identify this, and this is, again, I believe, an introduction to entering the city. I think West Hollis Street, I didn't live in Nashua all my life. I came here 25 years ago. But I do know from that time frame that West Hollis Street has changed a little bit. There's way more traffic, but I think that that's just the nature of development and going on. And I know for a fact, just knowing people that live in neighboring communities that use West Hollis Street as their way to get to all the things in Nashua for shopping, to get to the highway, to go to work to Massachusetts or go north. So I think it is an important corridor, but I think the traffic is there to stay. I don't think that's going to change, but I think that, I'm not going to say that the other signs are not tasteful, but I think that this sign, to me, would say to me that this applicant, the city, cares about what they're projecting, and again, I don't think change is always tough. I mean, no matter who we are, no matter what it is, but I think that this in time will, I think, again, not take away from the area, but add to the safety and to the aesthetics of the thoroughfare.
Other thoughts, Mr. Patrick?
So I think it is very difficult to find this building. I drove past a few times. It took me a couple attempts, even with my GPS. It was very hard to find. And it is a busy street. People are going by at least 40 miles an hour. I think it does have to be large enough to see. And like you said, Mr. Mankara, could it be smaller? Perhaps. But I'm also, I don't think any of us are graphic artists or trained exactly in knowing how big it would need to be seen at that speed. So I'm leaning towards supporting it. One thing I would like us to put as a condition is I don't think it needs to be lit 24/7 all year round. I don't know that the lighting is necessarily a huge issue, because I think when you do look at the night projection, it's not incredibly bright, but I would like to add a condition that it be darkened after 10 o'clock during the summer.
Other thoughts? Would anybody like to make a motion? I'll do it. Let me go back to the application itself. So I'd like to make a motion that the application of the City of Nashua owner, Division of Public Works applicant, 848 West Hollis Street, requesting a special exception from Land Use Code Section 190-101, Table 101-7, 1, to exceed the maximum size of ground sign, 10 square feet permitted, 33.8 square feet proposed, and 2, to exceed the maximum height of the ground sign, 6 feet permitted, 9 feet proposed, be approved. We find that the requested use is listed as a special exception in the use matrix, Section 190-15, Table 15-1, or is permitted as a special exception under another provision of this chapter, which it is. We find that the requested use will not create undue traffic congestion or unduly impair pedestrian safety. Indeed, we've had testimony that would enhance safety along the corridor. The requested use would not overload any public water, drainage, or sewer system or any other municipal system to such an extent that the requested use or any developed use in the immediate area or in any other area of the city would be unduly subjected to the hazards affecting health, safety, or general welfare. Indeed, there was no such testimony offered. That any special regulations set forth in this article would be met. That's not applicable in this case. And we find that the requested use would not impair the integrity or be out of character with the district or the immediate neighborhood in which it's located. And that's primarily due to the number of large signs that exist along the corridor. And we did have evidence presented to that effect. Nor be detrimental to the health, morals, or welfare of the residents of the city. And again, just to note to that criterion that we had testimony that it would enhance safety along the corridor by clearly identifying the site for those who visit, as well as employees and others who have to come or choose to come for permits and for other purposes and for night meetings. With the stipulation that the lighting on the sign be, if I'm gonna try to paraphrase you, Mr. Patry, that the lighting on the sign be turned off after 10 p.m. in the summer.
Is there some time that it would be turned back on, or it would get turned on at sunset, or that seems rather ambiguous to me.
I'll ask Mr. Patry for his thoughts.
Perhaps we could say that the sign can be turned on during, or at other than the summer months, the sign can be turned on 24/7, but from perhaps May 1st to October 31st, the sign can be turned on at 6 a.m. and turned off at 10 p.m.
Like that.
That works for me. My guess is it probably won't be turned on until the evening, but that would.
Can we suggest September 30th, just in case there are?
I'm fine with that.
Could we repeat the times?
Sure, so that the sign be allowed to be turned on 24/7, except from May 1st to September 30th, when the sign will be turned off at 10 p.m.
That is the motion. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Boucher. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Opposed? Mr. Lionel in opposition. The special exception has been granted. Does anybody need a break before we? All right, we're going to take we can take a 5-minute break. apologize for the folks who are here for the other applications. I hope it was at least interesting. All right. So our next application is the application of the Thompson Realty, Inc. owners, Richard Harvey. Harvey Signs is the applicant, 140 Daniel Webster Highway, requesting a variance from Land Use Code Section 190-108C2 to exceed the maximum number of wall signs, 3 permitted, 1 additional wall sign proposed, for a total of 4 wall signs. It's in the HB zone in Ward 7. Is the applicant present?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Honored Board. Thank you for being here tonight. Sorry for the lateness of the hour. I will be brief.
Could you just mind starting with your name and address
Yes.
for the record, please?
My name is Michael Harvey. I represent Harvey Signs. We are under contract from the Hyundai Genesis dealership to install the signage that is approved here tonight. Also, I helped develop the application. If you indulge me, I'd like to just read the points of purpose for the request. To start with, at the top of the variance, according to the current code, which has been cited as subsection 190-108, subsection C2, and subsection E2, this location is to have a maximum of 3 wall signs with a combined total of up to 150 square feet based off of the wall frontage. The proposed project requests approval for 4 wall signs with less combined total square footage of 124.8 square feet. Forgive the cough drop, I'm dealing with a little throat thing, I apologize. The purpose of the sign will not be in contrary to the public interest. The quantity of and location of signs will help facilitate customer egress and wayfinding off of the Daniel Webster Highway. And I'll talk a little bit more as to why that's important. There is only one entrance there, and it's only on one side of the traffic. The proposed signage is in observance of the spirit of the ordinance. The cumulative square footage of the proposed wall signage, 124.8 square feet, is within the 150 square feet allowable limit. Approval of this variance request will ensure that substantial justice is done. The allowable quantity of signage does not support an establishment requiring a constant replenishment of high-ticket inventory. Adequate signage is essential to raise brand awareness and compete with the automotive industry. This proposed sign package is in harmony with modern automotive dealership signage and consistent with the Hyundai and Genesis brands. As of right now, the branding on the building is for Hyundai. So Genesis is another brand or a sub-brand of the Hyundai family they're looking to add to their brands. The values of the surrounding properties are not diminished. Hyundai and Genesis are established automotive brands. The proposed signage package reflects this brand's design and materials. Some of the special conditions with this property involve, this property faces 2 roads, Rockney Drive and Daniel Webster Highway. However, the only entrance to this property is located on Rockney Drive. The building and its front facade sit at a 60-degree angle to Daniel Webster Highway with a setback of just under 200 feet. This makes brand exposure difficult for a car dealership with multiple brands, and if you keep in mind that there is a heavy tree line on that direction, it's difficult to also see the pylon sign unless you're at the light. The median on Daniel Webster Highway adds difficulty to southbound egress for customers and deliveries. The northbound traffic on Daniel Webster Highway has difficulty seeing wall signs set back 200 feet at a 60-degree angle to the street. This creates an unnecessary hardship for visibility and for the current traffic flow. The proposed sign package adequately addresses this location's unique hardships by increasing the visibility and egress of the Daniel Webster Highway. With this variance, traffic from both directions can more easily identify the Hyundai and now Genesis dealerships and safely proceed to the property entrance on Rockney Drive. If you gentlemen would take a look at the sign drawings for just a moment, please. The first page of the drawing shows just the front of the building with all the individual signs. According to the building department, the two signs on the far left, the Service Hyundai and Service Genesis signs that are going above those block windows, for reasons that were unbeknownst to me, they said that they're not going to consider those signage, probably because they're not illuminated and they're so far set back. The ones that they were concerned with were, they currently have the Hyundai Service sign towards the center on the top of the building there, and the Hyundai sign, and also Nashua, because every dealership has to have their name on the wall as well. This is considered the Nashua Hyundai. The new sign that is being proposed that puts it at 4 rather than just 3 is that little emblem for the Genesis logo. They did suggest that they move the emblem over and combine it with the Nashua sign, and the building department said, we'd be fine with it, we'll sign it off here. We go back to the dealer, and the dealer says they need to be separate based on the rules of having the dealer name stand out on the building itself. So that's part of the brand recognition. In closing, I thank you for your time and hearing our request for variance, and if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you now.
Questions from the board? If I could just go back to that point, you're saying if the emblem was combined with Nashua,
Yes.
you wouldn't need a variance for the
According to the building
additional sign?
department, they would say that that was just 3 signs. Basically, the Hyundai emblem with Service, Hyundai emblem with Hyundai, and then Nashua and the Genesis emblem together. But the dealership's not allowed to do that. So they have to be separate, which is why we're here.
Very good. Unless there's a question from the board, feel free to take a seat.
Thank you so much for hearing this. Appreciate you.
Is there anybody in the audience who'd like to speak in favor of this application? Is there anybody who'd like to speak with questions, concerns, or opposition to the application? Seeing none, we're going to close public input and open the deliberations of the board. Mr. Lionel.
I support this application. That building is in a really strange orientation and a difficult location. Not only is it at an angle and set back, but it's also a little up on a hill. It's really difficult to see anything there. So this addition of the 4th sign doesn't bother me at all.
Other thoughts? Mr. Neely.
So I'm in favor. We've been down the same road recently with Peters and with Porsche. All the dealers mandate you have certain signage in certain places in the building, so they did their best or due diligence to try to combine it with Nashua. Can't do it, I get that. They're still below the total square footage of signage. As Mr. Lionel said, this is interesting orientation of the building. We're very lucky in Nashua to have that automotive district, and so they do need to have the ability to set themselves apart from the competitors who have much bigger signs as you go down Rockney Drive and around the corner there. So for those reasons, I'm in favor of this proposal.
Any other thoughts? Anybody like to make a motion?
I'll do it.
Mr. Lionel.
I'd like to make a motion to grant the area variance requested by McThompson Realty, Inc., owner Richard Harvey, Harvey Signs applicant, 140 Daniel Webster Highway, Sheet A, Lot 242, requesting variance from Land Use Code Section 190-108, C2, to exceed maximum number of wall signs, 3 permitted, 1 additional wall sign proposed, for a total of 4 wall signs. This is in the RB Zone Ward 7. The board finds that the granting the variance would not be contrary to public interest because this building is set back in a particularly difficult orientation and up a hill and not really visible from both sides of Daniel Webster Highway. So this sign would provide additional wayfinding for the public. We believe the spirit of the ordinance would be observed because the intent is to provide reasonable identification and wayfinding for commercial entities, and this would not cause any problem for the public. Granting the variance would do substantial justice because it allows the applicant to identify this sub-brand, which is currently not visibly listed on their building, and that is a significant portion of their business. And we don't find any reason, we have no evidence that the values of surrounding properties would be diminished. And unnecessary hardship, the proposed use is a reasonable one because it is a wayfinding sign, does not detract from the environment. So I make a motion to approve this area variance.
Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Boucher. Any discussion? All those in favor? Request passes. Just be mindful, I probably should have mentioned before, that there is a 30-day window of appeal, so I think it's highly unlikely, but you're free to proceed with your project. Good night. And finally, we have the application of John Chatfield, 20 Jill Drive, requesting a variance from Land Use Code Section 190-16, Table 16-3, to encroach 3 feet into the 30-foot required rear yard setback to construct an attached 28-foot, 8-inch by 16-foot, approximately, 2-story home addition. It's in the R9 zone in Ward 9. Is the applicant present?
Good evening. I'm John Chatfield. I live at 20 Jill Drive, and I submitted the application for the variance for the addition to go in the back of the house, 16 feet deep, which would bring me within 3 feet of the 30-foot setback, and it's 28-foot 8 wide. It's also in the center of the house in the back, so it's not really noticeable from any of the neighbors of what I'm doing back there, and it's really, so granting the requested variance will not be contrary to public interest. It would add value to the neighborhood. It would be built in similar design as other properties in the area. The proposed use would observe the spirit of the ordinance, would have no impact on the intended use as typical in this neighborhood. Substantial justice would be done in the property owner by granting the variance. It would allow construction of a kitchen addition and a second floor, a master bedroom, so it's actually a kitchen and a dining room down combined in that section. It would not diminish the values of the surrounding properties. It would actually enhance the values. It would, some of the properties there need a little bit of updating, mine included. So I don't know if you have any questions for me on.
Questions from the board? So just kind of speaking to the size and the dimensions, did you look at alternatives that would have met the 30-foot setback? Did you look at different design alternatives?
Yeah, I did play around with it. If I absolutely had to, if I had to bring it to 13 feet, we're trying to make it as comfortable layout as possible. And being realistic, if I brought it to 13 feet, nobody would even notice if it's 13 feet or 16 feet if you're looking at my property. So, I mean, the comfortable layout for us is the 16 feet, but if I absolutely had to, I could still pull it back.
Any other questions from the board? You're free to take a seat. Is there anybody, you're free to take a seat unless you had something else you wanted to add.
Thank you.
Is there anybody in the audience who'd like to speak in favor of the application? Is there anybody with questions, concerns, or opposition to the application? Yeah. Happy to give you a moment.
Little drive, I'm sitting so long from all the
Sorry
other
about that.
others. My name is Sandra Mulgrew, and my husband and I own 94 Nottingham Drive, which is right behind Mr. Chatfield's property. Before I start, I have a few questions about procedural things.
Sure.
I had gone to look at Mr. Chatfield's plan on September 5th, as stated in the notice I'd received, and I was not there. And so we called the office here at the City Hall, and they said, oh, yes, you're right, it's not there, let us email it to you. It was emailed to me, but in his written application, page 3 is missing. There is no page 3 when you, for me to get. I had my husband double-check this in case there was some mistake on his part, which sometimes can happen with husbands. And he said, no, honey, I'm sure. We have 1, 2, and 4. And so I never had page 3 to look at. So I don't know if that means we should wait for me to be able to get page 3, or should we continue?
So, when you say page 3, do you mean a page that was numbered?
Yes, there's, in the original application, let me, here we go. In the original variance application, the front page looks like that. This is page number 1.
Yes.
Then there's page number 2.
Yes.
And then I have page number 4. There was no page number 3 to download from the email that the City Hall person sent to me. So I don't have any of the information, or your pages are misnumbered. I'm not sure.
So, I'm going to come down to where you are
Okay.
rather than have you approach. All right, would you have the application?
I do, this here, the application that my husband downloaded? Yes. So, this was the application that, it appears, the one that Mr. Chatfield filed. And 2, 4. There is no 3.
Do you feel that not having a copy of page 3 impairs your ability to speak to this application?
It is unclear to me, since I don't know what's on page 3.
That's a fair
I
point.
mean, I have prepared thoroughly based on the information that I have.
We could show her a copy of page 3.
If I could see it as filled out by Mr. Chatfield. I don't need a blank page 3, obviously. I needed what Mr. Chatfield.
Because there's
wrote
not
on
much
page 3.
that's been written, but
Right.
there is some.
We'll provide you with a copy of page 3. Take a
Okay.
look and see if that allows you
Okay.
sufficient opportunity.
Okay.
Do
I
we-
probably can do it very quickly. It seems there's not much on it. Okay. Oh, wonderful, thank you. That's all I needed. Okay, yes, I feel fine that I can go forward.
Very
at
good,
this
thank
point.
you.
I'm afraid I didn't prepare for so many folks, so I do have some photographs that might help, if I can hand them to Mr. Patry and perhaps.
Yes.
And on the back, there's a very short description of what you're looking at. These photos were taken from within my yard. Oops, sorry. These photos were taken from within my yard or on the other side of the fence, which is still my property. So, I'm going to bring up some of my objections to the things that Mr. Chatfield said in his application and both here at the podium. The following, he said that no hardship is demonstrated. Well, variances are intended for cases of unnecessary hardship related to the land itself. You'll see in the photos that the topography of the land, his land is approximately 3.5 to 4 feet higher than my land. There's a rock wall, which is the property of myself and my husband, and we have maintained that rock wall in spite of a fence that was put up in front of it in 2009. Okay, some physical constraints that prevents compliance with zoning ordinance. The requested relief is based on the homeowner's preference, and I do believe Mr. Chatfield did say that for his comfort, they would prefer the extra space, and not on a hardship inherent to the property. In one of the photos, you'll notice that his house does not sit square on the lot, okay? Most of his property is off, if you're looking at it from my backyard, off to the left. The right back corner of his house is currently 40 feet from the rock wall, and the rock wall is acknowledged as the property line. If you allow Mr. Chatfield to go 3 feet over the 10 feet allowed, he's now 13 feet closer to me, and I'm afraid Mr. Chatfield is wrong when he says nobody will be able to even see it. I will see it. Very clearly, I will see it. Number two, the impact on light and privacy. The rear yard setback requirement exists in part to preserve reasonable privacy and light between neighboring properties. Reducing the setback will place the new second-story addition that Mr. Chatfield is asking for in addition to the setback closer to my property, and it will significantly increase the sense of encroachment. There's a photo there you'll see with a couple of chairs. That's our little backyard area where we sit. And I've got direct line now because of the topography, and it has been since we bought the home in '97. And from the second floor of my house, you'll see some photos, I have direct line of sight into his entire first floor because of the topography. We knew that when we bought the home, and I do understand that Mr. Chatfield is not asking for a variance to put second floor on. I respect and understand that. But to bring the entire structure over that 30-foot would put a hardship on myself and my family because of that impact on light and privacy. Mr. Chatfield also has a deck currently on the rear of his home.
Excuse me, I have a picture of the plot plan. Can you show it to her?
No, I'm sorry, it's her opportunity.
I'd like to address that in a moment, if I could, but not directly to Mr. Chatfield. His existing deck, it's not in his proposed plan whether that deck will be, again, erected there or not. It's not in the plan. If he does erect a deck, we're positively going way more than 3 feet into what he's asking, into that 30-foot setback. The other thing I didn't bring up, because I didn't think it would be terribly relevant, but since Mr. Chatfield brings it up, is the aerial view of the neighborhood that I got when the person sent me the email with his application is from the year 2011. The properties, both mine and the surrounding, have changed significantly since 2011. You might recognize me. I was here asking for an exception for an ADU, which has been built and is currently awaiting inspection for certificate of occupancy. There's my daughter who will be living in it. So I used to have, I will now, with that new building, there'll be approximately 55 feet of unused land between the back of the new ADU to that rock wall. If he erects a deck, especially if it's more than one level, as his is now, it'll be even more. I mean, the line of sight is just a little wild. It's a little wild. Excuse me, I'm a little dry. Neighborhood character. I have to voice this as someone who's lived in the neighborhood since 1997. I disagree with Mr. Chatfield that some of the houses are run down and in need of a little work. That's not so. Everyone in this neighborhood takes very good care of their homes. We have a great pride in our neighborhood. We're in the New Searles School District, and we have great pride. Every one of my neighbors have been making improvements to their home over many, many years. If Mr. Chatfield feels his home needs improvement, that's wonderful. I'd love to have more improvement going on in the neighborhood. But the character is such that there is space. One of the reasons my husband and I chose this land, we came from New York City, where I literally said to my realtor, I don't want to hear my neighbor flush their potty when I wanted to know how far I wanted to be from the neighbor. We have a lot of space in my yard. It's one of the things I liked about the property I bought. But Mr. Chatfield, not so much. It's currently 40 feet from his corner of his house to that property line. He mentioned about property value. I think in general, when you improve a property in a neighborhood, when comps go up, everybody's happy, and that's a great thing. But personally, what Mr. Chatfield is asking for has a great chance to diminish the value of my property. Because anyone coming, if I should want to sell my property or get an evaluation of my property, we're now going to have a much larger structure on a much higher topography overlooking my yard. Again, I know this is not a request for him to build a second floor. I understand that.
It is, though.
But building it,
It is.
it's also for the second floor.
Yes.
Oh, pardon me, I did not know that. I will lose all of the privacy of my backyard. There is not, I would say there's maybe 3 feet in front of the rear fence that will not be visible to someone inside the second floor of Mr. Chatfield's home. That's very, very difficult. So I ask if you do allow Mr. Chatfield to do as he's requesting, please don't let him come 3 feet closer than is necessary. It's hard to think of a big structure back there as it is, but to think of it even 3 feet closer than it really needs to be is really difficult for us. I'm also a little concerned that Mr. Chatfield said 2 things, and of course I can only verify one. My husband is not here tonight, so I won't mention the second one. But I will mention the first one. Mr. Chatfield, when he came into the neighborhood, I didn't know he had owned the home for a very long time, and we had renters, because I never had any interaction with them. And then I saw him on a big piece of equipment. I was a nurse, not a machine operator, so I don't know what it's called, but it digs big holes. I was taking down a lot of trees, and I went over to introduce myself. And he was very nice to me, and he asked if I was bothered, in not so many words, by the removal of the trees, and I said, well, it's your trees, you know. But there is one dead tree, and you're gonna see it in the photo, one dead tree, that I asked Mr. Chatfield if he would be removing. And he said, yes, he was, and I said, that's great, because when that thing falls, with my luck, it's gonna take out my fence and my shed. And Mr. Chatfield said he'd remove it. It's now only 1 of 2 trees that still remain on his property. He can keep trees on his property or not keep trees on his property. But I don't know why he told me he would remove it, and it hasn't been removed. The other thing, I can say what happened, because I was there, but can't say what he told me, because it would be hearsay. When Mr. Chatfield was using his heavy equipment to clear these trees, that rock wall, which belongs to my husband and I, quite a few very large, heavy, I'm going to call them rocks, but I don't think they're rocks, I think they're boulders. I'm sure it was accidental. He dislodged. They're still there.
And I do appreciate that that's frustrating for you.
Very frustrating.
But I would just ask that we keep our comments relevant to the
It
variance.
makes me be concerned, sir, for how Mr. Chatfield feels about the neighborhood and the neighbors. It's not neighborly and respectful to your neighbor to do something even inadvertently to their property and not make it right. That's why I bring it up, not for any other reason. And I won't say what my husband heard, because he's not here to say it. So, we love our neighborhood. Mr. Chatfield seems like a nice gentleman. I hope that what he wants can happen and still protect my privacy is the main thing I'm concerned about. You know, because I would like everyone to stay content in the neighborhood. Thank you very much for listening, I appreciate it.
Questions from the board? Mr. Neely.
If memory serves me correct, when the ADU, we authorized the ADU, which I know is done because I drive by it every day, you built it on the back of the garage, right?
Yes.
How much further did you go back towards his property?
With the ADU, our existing garage was 24 deep. The ADU is 30 deep past that. So it's from the garage, there's now an existing open space of 55 feet from the back of that ADU to that rock wall.
Okay, and so what would you estimate is the total distance from his house to the main part of your house? Because the ADU comes off of like where the garage, right?
Yep, I can tell you exactly. Well, when you say the main part of his house doesn't sit parallel to the property line. It sits askew, so that right back corner of his house is the closest. So if you go to the middle of my house, the main house, and I'm looking at his house, because his house, you know, goes this way off the property, the right corner is not gonna change, it's still there. I would estimate it is, take away the garage, which would be only 4 feet of that, plus the 34 feet, plus the 55. 35 plus 55, approximately.
Okay.
I'm not good at math, I'm sorry.
So 90 feet, and you think having that 90 feet away from your house is impeding on your privacy?
It's absolutely, because of the topography of the land. That's what it really is. It's the topography of the land,
So I understand that.
yeah.
But we also authorized you in the ADU last year.
Yes.
I mean,
Which I didn't ask for any variance.
I get it, I understand, but,
And it doesn't look
kind
on
of understand where I'm
anyone's
going with this.
property.
You brought your house a lot closer to his, and now it's a concern that he wants to get an extra 3 feet off of that.
Yes, it is. I was
Okay.
very cognizant, I'm not going to impede upon the setbacks.
Okay.
Very, very cognizant.
All right.
Matter of fact, when the garage was put in a few years back, we made sure to stay outside, greater than the 10 feet minimum on that also. I know it's a difficult situation. I know he has no control, nor do I, over the topography. I spoke to both of my neighbors. I don't know if anyone wrote in. Everybody's busy, you know, they all got things to do. And I have a different feeling about where I live. You know, I'm looking in, if I can look in his first floor, he can look in my second floor. Okay, that's just how it is. I get it. To build, and according to the plan, the back would be a bathrooms, if I could read the plans right. I'm also not an engineer or an architect. I don't really think it's fair to bring up the fact that I put in an ADU, and thus, why don't I feel okay with him doing what he wants? I didn't impede on the 30-foot setback. I'm not even close to it, you know? He's asking for something that's out of the ordinary, that unless it causes a hardship for him, it shouldn't be permitted.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Is there anybody else who'd like to speak with questions, concerns, or opposition?
Can I get a copy of that page 3, please?
Yeah, so my name is Miles Shannon. I live at 30 Melissa Drive. My property abuts Mr. Chatfield's. My greatest concern here was the scanned document. I guess the city missed page 3, so none of us had seen this. And the state law is very clear that there needs to be some sort of hardship that is in the request for a variance. And this is not even completed. I mean, section, number 5, 1, 2, and 3 need to be filled out, or section 4 of number 5, and the one sentence that he provided here doesn't clearly articulate a hardship. There needs to be some kind of condition or quality of his property that requires a variance into that 30-foot setback. And nothing here articulates that. So on that basis alone, this application has to be rejected. To an aside, speaking to the character of this application, Mr. Chatfield has a shed that is shown in the overview of the application that now actually sits on my property line and violates the 30-foot setback rule of my property. And that's a little concerning that that shed has been moved in violation of the city zoning ordinance and is sitting there. So it's concerning to me that he's going to be constructing an addition that, I don't know how, it speaks to the character. So otherwise, I don't oppose the addition. If I was in his position, I would want an addition in my house as well. But on the merits of this application, I couldn't accept it. Any questions for me?
Questions from the board? If not, you're free to take a seat.
Go.
Thank you. Anybody else who'd like to speak with questions, concerns, or opposition?
Elizabeth Mulgrew. I will reside in the ADU in the backyard of 94 Nottingham Drive. I would just like to state that due to the floor plans not matching the engineering plans, not matching it's just very inconsistent what we received, and again, we weren't sure if that was how the city uploaded it, or if that's how Mr. Chatfield uploaded it. But if you actually read through the floor plans and then the description, nothing matches. It's just a little confusing. So the fact that we didn't even know this was second-story business, I just think this needs further review before we can even proceed with making any legal decision regarding this. Thank you.
There are no others coming forward, so I'm going to give you the opportunity to provide a rebuttal up to 5 minutes, if you wish.
Is it worth showing this plot plan?
If you'd like to show it, you could, we could pass it around. We do have a copy of your plot plan, though.
There is, it's in the building application. Yeah,
Okay.
okay. On that,
Well,
that,
let's, I'm sorry, let's go to the podium, that way you can.
yeah, so there's a deck that exists there right now, so it would be going 4 feet past where that deck is. And my point was, it's in the center of the back of the property. There would be no deck on the back. We would actually have a patio off to the side of it. That entire deck is going away. It's almost going in the footprint of that deck, but it's going 4 feet out past that. Because if it's, right now, that's 12 feet, and it's a kitchen and a dining room down there. That's what that would be. And in regards to the comment on the tree.
Sir, if you wouldn't mind just addressing the board and speaking into the mic.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Just talk to us.
Yeah, just, you can say whatever you want to say, just
Okay.
address it towards us.
No, I was just pointing out that it was going in the, essentially the footprint of the deck that exists. The deck goes away. I have no intention of putting another deck. My intention is to put a patio off to the side of it. We'd walk out of the kitchen dining room, and there would be a patio there. In regards to the tree that you had asked, I would have taken it down, but I can't take it down safely. I did tell her I would do that, and I'm apologize. I know that has nothing to do with the variance, but since you're here and you asked. I still have the right to have this addition. It would be 3 feet closer to the deck, and it would still be the same height, and nothing else would change on it. I'll respect whatever the decision is.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
I'm saying.
Is there anything else that you would like to add?
I do not have anything else to add.
Any questions from the board? All right, you're free to take a seat. And as I noted earlier, one of you may come and give your last words if you wish.
Hi, Miles Shannon, 30 Melissa Drive. Yeah, the state law is very clear. He has to articulate some kind of hardship that is specific to his property for why he needs this variance, and he just has not demonstrated that. Unfortunately, I can't see this petition be approved. Maybe he has some hardship. He hasn't filed it with the city, but until that happens, it's not a valid petition. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, with that, we're going to close the public hearing and open up the deliberations of the board. Thoughts from the board? Mr. Neely.
This is always tough when you have neighbors who don't agree. Quite frankly, I guess with the neighbors directly affected behind, I can't be in support of this. I think there's a way to move this kitchen over. I think it's gonna be a little more painful, but you can move it over or make it smaller by the 3 feet. Usually one of the criteria I look for is, no input from the neighbors or positive input. We just don't have it this time from the folks at 94 Nottingham. So as written, I can't support this application.
Other thoughts from the board? Mr. Linnell?
Yeah, I mean, it's not just the kitchen, there's also the second floor addition, and the rather large bathroom in the back of the house that would be also in this 16-foot addition. Yeah, I mean, people want to do what they want to do, but I don't see any compelling reason to go over the, into the setback.
I mean, I would say, you know, in looking at it, I feel the same way, and I think we've had, yes, certainly in looking at the floor plans, the proposed bathroom addition is enormous. You certainly want a master bathroom, walk-in closets, et cetera, but I think what also turns it for me, you know, towards opposition is just the testimony from the applicant himself that, sure, it could be 3 feet less. If that was necessary. He'd like it to be larger, but he certainly could do it and meet the setback, so. Other thoughts? Mr. Patry?
Yeah, I just, legally, we do have to find a hardship, and I just can't find one here.
Any other thoughts? Mr. Boucher?
The only hardship, or the only unique thing about this property, because it's on cul-de-sac and the shape of the lot, is a 16-foot addition unreasonable? Is 3 feet like that noticeable? I would agree with that applicant. From the street side, it probably wouldn't be noticeable. Again, the issue here is, I think, is clearly the topography. Maybe if the trees, or whatever trees were there before were still there, maybe it wouldn't be as big of an issue. I'm really on the fence with that, with this, because, again, I can see it both ways. So that's my opinion at this point.
Would anyone like to make a motion? Mr. Neely?
I'd like to make a motion to not approve the variance for John Chatfield, owner, 20 Jill Drive, Sheet C, Lot 1933, requesting variance from Land Use Code Section 190-16, Table 16-3 to encroach 3 feet into the 30-foot required rear yard setback to construct an attached 28-foot 8-inch by 16-foot approximate two-story home addition. This is in the R9 zone, Ward 9. Granting the variance would be contrary to public interest in that we did have some testimony from one of the affected abutters that this house would, by adding the second story specifically, it's going to kind of tower over their area due to topography, and definitely being within the setback was against the public interest. The spirit of the ordinance would not be observed, once again, because of the topography, and this house migrating closer to the house on 94 Nottingham. The spirit of the ordinance would not be observed. The granting the variance would not do substantial justice to the neighborhood, in that we've had a couple of folks testify that they think there's no reason to build such a large addition where it goes over the setback lines, specifically as the house is just getting bigger and beefier in the lot, in an area of that lot that is the closest to the nearest neighbor. We had no testimony that the values of the surrounding properties would be diminished. The application did note that surrounding values would go up. However, we have not had any specific documentation from any realtors or professionals. And we did discuss and found that there was no unnecessary hardship to this area. There was a bit of a discussion that that this property is on a cul-de-sac, so it does have a very distinct shape to it. However, we did find that there are other opportunities for this applicant to still build and not affect the setback, i.e. he did note that he'd still be able to do it, just not adding on the 3 extra feet for the kitchen and the oversized bathroom up above. So for those reasons, I make a motion that we not approve the variance.
Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Patry. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion not to approve? So your application for the variance has been denied. You do have the right to appeal that decision, so if you do.
I'm fine. I know what I gotta do.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right, agenda for the next meeting. Has everyone had the chance to look at the agenda?
Yes.
And if so, does anyone find any regional impact?
Do not.
Nope.
I do not either. We are continuing our meeting, so if you wouldn't mind just taking, it's all right, if you wouldn't mind just taking your conversation out to the hallway, appreciate it. Good night. Minutes from the last meeting, I was just going to suggest that, since we did just receive them, we might want to defer these to the next meeting.
Agreed, yeah.
Anybody want to make a motion to defer the minutes?
Move that we defer consideration of the minutes of the last meeting to our next meeting on September 23rd.
Is there a second? All those in favor? Discussion? Thank you, everyone, and I believe that is it, unless somebody has some other business they'd like to bring forward. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.